Hey everyone, welcome to the first SDN Community Voices. I'm happy to have you guys here. My name is Felipe. I'm from Brazil and I'm currently one of the ambassadors here for SDN. And we created a little bit of this initiative that every week we bring a couple of different community voices from our service design community to just talk and share and interact a little bit. And I'm happy to hear a little bit where you're guys from, where you're joining from. Just put there in the chat. But and as well, we are going to have like kind of an informal conversation format. So if you interact here on the chat, we are going to have a look. And if you have any other questions by the end, we're going to talk a little bit about your own questions as well, or what you are curious about our own backgrounds and how we turned out to be service designers. And I'm joined today with two of my ambassadors, fellow ambassadors, Katie, who is a multidisciplinary designer based in the UK, and Gabriele, who is a strategic and service designer based in Italy. So I'll join. So welcome.
Hi.
Thank you, Felipe.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So, Judy is joining us from Germany. Nice. And so just to start off, let's just say a little bit, how did you find out about service design? What was kind of the first thing that made you know about service design or in general?
Yeah, I mean, Katie, go on, because your presentation on the EG Live we had last week was really, really interesting. So I would give the audience the possibility to listen to that. So it was really inspiring to my side. So if you go first, it's great.
Well, for me, it was a complete accident, shall we say. I actually was trying to transition from fashion design into UX design. And really the thing which kind of sparked my interest initially was this like design thinking, like this concept of not having an ego really when you're designing, like really thinking about the customer who you're designing for. And I was trying to put together this portfolio of translating previous work into a UX portfolio. And a very nice person who was mentoring me at the time said, "You're a service designer, that's why you're struggling." I was like, oh, okay, let me just Google what that means. And I was like, makes complete sense. So it was only last year that I actually heard the sort of job title, if you like, of service design. Sorry, service designer. But it's kind of one of those things which it draws on a lot of different kind of intuitive soft skills. And I think one of the things that we've all spoken about before is service design can be applied to every and all industries. And so I have been a service designer and just not really known it.
Yeah, and I guess is very much that part that is interesting about this community, right? Because so many people from kind of having this aha moment of realizing that maybe they were actually doing service design. Me, I actually was in electrical engineering to begin with. My bachelor's was in electrical engineering because I wanted to work with the more technological side and work with the kind of human aspect of implementing technology. And then I realized that I was doing a lot of more strategic work that required a bit more creativity. And I realized that what I actually wanted was service design. And I think that maybe it's a little bit similar to your own career, right, Gabriele, with the business side.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, service design came in on a sudden after, I don't know, having started in industrial design, because the idea was again to move into solving bigger and bigger problems in creating impact and having impact. And then this interest in this willingness, let's say, to design for impact led me to design from industrial product to actually services and then systems and then all the let's say landscape above it, so business design, strategic design. And this also moved me to management design, so the ability to study the interactions among people and how organizations works in order to provide that kind of value for people, because besides all products and services and, let's say, goods are designed by people, and then how you manage those people is really the key to unlock their creativity and their capacity, and to leverage collective knowledge. So I found myself really into what Katie already said about the ability of the service designers to move into uncertainty. So to basically being always lost in the projects and being comfortable with that. And I do also find it in my life as a young designer, so let's say, after being into university, and in my way to start to understand how to properly design for impact, and finding those places that would allow me to follow my purpose and to give some kind of a legacy on my own.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, and it's very interesting. I think we have here kind of three different, completely different, right, backgrounds of service design and how you went. Because what are you guys working on right now, right? As well. So what's kind of what did this path take you, and what are you doing now?
Now, I'm working into a research lab, an academic research lab, basically, and I'm working on design for management, understanding again how design can help organizations in moving forward and creating innovational outcomes. While it's very curious as well, your path, I would say, because you introduced yourself, but let's say you should be more, let's say, introduce more about what you are doing, because
Yeah.
I don't know if it's shareable, but it's very interesting the work you're gonna have and the internship you're gonna have in like the design world,
and also just like the leap that you took, because you kind of very briefly skimmed over the fact that you are from Brazil, but you're not currently there, and
that is true. That is true.
Of like complexity and stuff.
So let's turn it upside down. Let's
talk yeah, that's fair. No, true. To go a bit in more detail, basically, I started the engineering bachelor's in Brazil, as I mentioned. I did a couple of years there, and then I realized I wanted to work a little bit more with the people and understanding how to be more human centered, as we say in design. And when I found design, I actually just started in Portugal. I moved from Brazil to Portugal to do a little bit of exploration on what was designed from a more broader sense. And that's where I kind of started to fall more in love with the more human and social side of design. And that's what kind of brought me to service design to begin with. And now I'm just finishing my master's in Sweden, in Linköping University. And I was just working a little bit with, I think, the culmination of all of those past years in university of trying to see the different technological and social and human sides of design. Yeah, it was, I mean, quite an interesting journey so far, and I'm happy to connect with other people that had quite nice journeys as well.
That's great, because as it should be, I would say we are all very much interested in social innovation, into the way design is human-centered, and how to actually design for a better society by by designing for people and putting people at the center of our project.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as it seems, this is kind of a key element in between in both our journeys. But as well, it happened to me to have a chat with service designers, friends of mine, and like we analyzed the idea for which service designer actually feel very much this sense of like human centricity and this need to create services for a better world. I don't know if you already passed through Design for a Better World book.
Oh yeah, from Don Norman. Yeah.
Basically that, and also Ruined by Design. It's a very, very great book that I do suggest you to read about, and it shows really how design has had a negative impact, and how by misdesigning, let's say, or misinterpreting some kind of notions or some kind of design processes, then you led to real and actual problems.
Yeah, and understand that we have to be a bit critical about our own profession, right? Because design on itself, it's creating things, and we have to understand how much agency we have as designers. Doesn't matter if it's in the public sector or within a company. What's our role and what's our impact on people, the environment, on the organizations, and how that kind of ramificates into other impacts, into other ways of being good and bad, right? And understand that a lot of times we might unintentionally create bad to the environment around us.
I think as well that ties in really nicely because with what you're doing and like your experiences, Gabriele, because I think we think of design often as like an outward thing and like a product or a service, and becoming like more user centric is kind of more in our vocabulary, and especially coming from fashion, that wasn't necessarily at the forefront, shall we say. It's more about the name on the door sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
Like we talk about this balance of like visionary design or like data driven. I think most people agree that it's usually a combination of both where you get the best out of things. But I think maybe one thing which isn't spoken about in terms of design is this management side, and how you can design a service or a product today, like tomorrow, the next few years, which might hopefully evolve, or very common thing is that they'll be forgotten about. But the impact that you have on a team and the people in those teams can last for an extremely long time. And if you're being really conscious about that, then that's how you have. I like what you said, because you said about having a legacy or leaving a legacy. And I think if we, you don't have to be like a designer and it sounds really fancy or like maybe a bit more complicated or vague, but even if you work, no matter what industry you work in, you often work in a team, you have someone that you report to, or even if you have your own business, but the impact that you have on those people around you will last for a really long time. And it's something that I think should be a bigger part of the conversation as well.
Yeah, because it will last for a long time, not just because we're beings, we are human beings, but as well because they will deliver some kind of product, some kind of KPIs, and these KPIs will reflect actually the behavior they had inside the organization, so the culture of the organization. And the culture of the organization then is what contributes, let's say, lots to drive innovation. And if you lead innovation in a certain way, then that kind of innovation become to be kind of a common place where to grow and to create again novelties and new innovations, and like the innovation curve, if you remind that, like innovation rises, innovation, and then another innovation comes in, and so on and so forth. But basically, by always improving and using design to always change the way, and to start to use design as the way people work differently inside the organization, then you can start to have a kind of a new paradigm in the future, in the near or long-term future, I would say. But what about people in the audience? I would say, what are they doing? Can they like interact with us? Are they?
How did you find about service design, or what is it that you're doing right now? Just put there on the chat. We're curious about to hear from you guys.
How many people are there?
I'm not sure.
Let's try to give a check. Because it's our first live actually on LinkedIn, and it's on various platforms, let's say basically on LinkedIn, and it seems to work very well. I mean, we had a great experiment with Silvia Rossetti.
Yeah, on IG Live.
I do suggest you guys to check her out, because she has a really, really interesting profile. She's Italian, now in London. And we had this kind of conversation on IG Live, exactly, but we were kind of we had lots of issues, and thanks, Judy. So we got 14. It's a small number, but just for the best. And then we
Okay. So someone here is saying that they came to service design through customer experience and marketing. That's, I mean, another side of finding kind of service design that's quite interesting as well, right? I think from me, I can kind of talk a little bit from that side because my bachelor's was in communications design, and I felt so many kind of, I say, interfaces between the visual communication side of design and this more strategic side, right? I think marketing a lot of times has that aspect that connects very much, but then service design brings a little bit more forth the more strategic side of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, like I was actually just listening to one of our Service Design Network UK, what's it, Service Design Network YAP podcast, and the guy who was on there, he was saying that his background was actually marketing, and he said like the transition from marketing to service design, kind of like that mentality of shifting from like the KPIs and being quite metrics driven, at least from like the business side. Like obviously you have to quantify the work to a sort of more like structured, in a more structured way, and so you're shifting from keep the KPIs, more metrics, and seeing the customers more as like the figures, to having this more like human approach and seeing them as like a person going through a journey. And that being quite I think that's quite a common experience to get into service design from
that. Yeah, because being related to that, I recently read a book about why we buy. Is the I guess if I remember well, the title of that, it's from a very important marketer that were sharing his insights about the way they were doing research into marketing. Actually, it's a quite old book. It comes from the 90s, but still has some kind of notions that come on with and are actual nowadays. And
yeah, but I mean, there's so many books like that, right? For my thesis, I was reading a book from the 60s that so many people still reference. So it's so funny sometimes to find these books. They're still so present to this day.
Absolutely. And it was so linked in that sense to let's say service design. It's about all the human centricity part was really on that topic and was really on point with what service design is. But what about your master thesis? So you just defended your thesis, so I would like congratulations to you before everything else.
Thank you. Yeah, I still am actually going to deliver the final text tomorrow, but it was quite interesting, right? Because as I was mentioning, it was a little bit of the combination or the combination of all those different aspects throughout the years. So what I was working on was kind of the intersection of design fictions, hearing loss, and stigma. So trying to understand design from a more speculative or critical thinking kind of side through those design fictions, which are those kind of speculative narratives of the near future. You're creating little objects or little experiences, services of the future that are used to critique kind of social structures and context that we have nowadays. And the topic that I chose was hearing loss because I kind of have, I think it's quite a common thing that a lot of people, at least while I was talking about the thesis with different people, everybody knows somebody that has hearing loss, be it a grandpa, parents, or like a friend or something like that. So it ends up being something so common, a social problem that's so spread, but that we end up not talking so much. And I felt that design or service design in general was very interesting platform there to be able to critique, right, the problems with the social structures, the stigma, and the normalization of stigmatizing people that have hearing loss.
It's gonna get implemented as well. Are you you finish it there, or are you moving it on and you got projects on that?
No, I don't have direct
really
projects. It's more
right now.
It's more on the idea of creating a reflection, as we are doing a little bit here, of our own position as designers and how we can sometimes do a little bit more like impact on a systemic and social level, considering those more speculative works. Because a lot of times design doesn't necessarily have to just be the product that you do in the end, but a lot of times the critique and the process of understanding the problematics that we are designing for. So in a way, it's not a final thing that's going to be implemented, but it's more a bigger reflection of myself as coming to be a designer now, graduating and starting a job next semester, but as well other people that maybe might be interested to read the work and then interested to try to implement that themselves on their own organizations, on the university, with external stakeholders, and just including more people into the conversation, right?
I think as well, it's like just going through the process of exposing yourself to those problems. It makes you more aware in the future, doesn't it? And not necessarily of that specific problem, but of just the general landscape of what the company you're designing in, or the product or service that you are designing. Just being, each time you go through the process, especially with the reflection stage as well, being like, this is something I wasn't actively ignoring before, but it's just something which may not personally affect you. And so it's like just expanding your mind to those possibilities and kind of listening more almost to the problems which may surround an issue or a company, or the processes and things like that.
Yeah, and I think those aha moments, right, of realizing something, it's so inherent to design in general. And then I'll ask as well people here that are watching us if there was any aha moments from your service design kind of transition or career that you were just really, oh, that's an interesting thing that I didn't think service design could touch upon, or something like that. And then I ask you too as well, like from your own experiences, what were some things that really like kind of brought that idea in your mind or something?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. I would say while audience is gonna answer, and please do that, because then we can engage with you and open up our community. So I got my haha moment, I would say, once I was talking with Harvard students about a project they were carrying on to detect cancer on Black people, because actual diagnoses are a bit different as it seems, from white to Black people, and they were trying to develop a services with actually they were in the math department collaborating with service designer and design thinkers to develop a way to actually provide that service to Black people in the United States, because there was a huge lack of let's say market area on that, or we can call it market area, which is quite bad, but let's say there wasn't a proper help for that segment of people. And this led me also, this is actually what I do consider as design for legacy, design for people and for a better society. And this is again what led me to dig into what service design is, to dig into the capacity and the capabilities of the design thinkers to solve bigger problems.
Yeah,
I think healthcare seems to be an area that a lot of service designers are really interested in, because of the things that you just said, like that lack of acknowledgement of a often like a huge group of people, right? And just having a system, often like a really complicated system, which takes time and a lot of care to change. But I think healthcare, finance.
She dropped off.
Sorry. Back. They're often quite exclusionary industries, are kind of where we all seem to be quite drawn to. But like I say, my aha moment was just actually hearing that service design was a thing. Because I came from fashion and very different industry. I met some really fantastic people, and I think actually, now I kind of know a lot of the skill set which falls under service design. It's like this empathetic approach, listening, communication, all these often soft skills. And then having like the structure as well. But yeah, for me, it was just actually hearing, oh, service design, this is a thing that I'm doing. I didn't know it. And you can apply it to any industry. And even more recently, I spoke to someone who is a service designer in fashion. She works for Adidas. And to me, that is wild, because I think, you know, fashion doesn't really have the best reputation in terms of like well-being or care or these things. So for an industry like that to adopt this approach, I just think it's really exciting, and I'm very excited about service design. So I encourage the audience to, if you've not heard of it before, or you're like, what the hell are they talking about? Then, you know, all you need to start is curiosity, and we have loads of free resources on the website as well. So
yeah, and then we also have an interview with like one of the first service design teachers, university academic teachers, Birgit Mager, on 18th of June. We'll talk with her about her experience and her trends and her insights about service design, because her story is really interesting. And I do suggest you to, I do really recommend you to check her out, because she was actually, as far as I remember, she was eating oysters, and then she suddenly became professor of service design thanks to connection and thanks to a dinner she was having in France. And then the story there actually began. She's the founder of Service Design Network, our founder basically,
but not too many spoilers, Gabriele.
Yeah.
On the 18th.
But I think it's great because we have so many different stories and perspectives here in this community. So glad to bring you two here today. These talks are very like short, so I'm very happy as well that some people join, and happy to see some other people next week as well for to be announced guests. But yeah, thank you both for your time, and thank you for everybody that joined.
Thank you. It's been really fun.
It was a pleasure to connecting with you and to share insights about what service design is, actually how to promote it around our community and around us.
Perfect. Thank you very much, you two.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for joining the first SDN Community Voices. It was great to have everybody that was here. I'm happy to start this kind of episodes throughout the next weeks and invite you to join and interact a little bit here with other members of the service design community. So thank you very much. And I see you next time.